Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Caregiver and Spoonie podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Banderas. And just a quick reminder, don't forget to subscribe. And now, if you're noticing this right now, I have a microphone now. What we're doing is that we're trying to improve the podcast every episode. So now I was able to get the microphone, so hopefully it sounds good. And like I have always said, the podcast is always going to grow to be better. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to get better. So let's get into today's episode. Now, on today's episode, I'm answering a question from one of our listeners, which the question is, why do we compare ourselves to others? Now, I'm going to go ahead and give you my perspective and my take in regards to this question, okay? So why do we compare ourselves to others? Now, from my experience, this happens since childhood. It happens when you're a little kid and your parents, your friends, your teachers, your adults, pretty much, whoever is in your life that you see as an adult or as a figure that you need to follow, you know, like a father, mother, whatever. They tend to compare you with somebody else. Like in my case, why can't you be like your brother? Why can't you be like this other student that has straight A's? Or why can't you be like this? Why can't you be like that? So when you do that, it affects the kid. And then as an adult, unfortunately, we have low self-esteem because there's always going to be somebody better than you or somebody that you might see that is better than you. But what we need to understand is that we are different. Everybody learns in a different way. Everybody learns at a different speed. Everybody is different. Everybody sees different perceptions. So by comparing ourselves to others, we're just hurting ourselves. Like in my case, the reason why I started comparing myself is because of my uncle. And I'm just going to say, like, it was because of him. When I was on first grade, I was a good student. From first to third grade, I was a good student. I had A minus. Those were my grades, A minus. So when I was in first grade, he told me, if you do good in school, I'm going to take you to Disneyland. I had an A minus. I was like, I'm doing good. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to Disneyland. So obviously I still did good in school. At the end of the year, I got my report card, which was an A minus. Like that was my final grade. I showed it to my uncle. I was so excited. And then he does this. He said, you didn't do good enough. You could have done better. Now, if you pay attention, he actually said to me, if you do good in school. He never said like, oh, get a straight A or get a A plus and I will take you. Because if he had said that, I would have been able to do it anyway. You know, like I would have been able to get an A plus and been able to go to Disneyland. But he said I didn't do good enough. So in my mind, I started comparing myself to the people that had a higher grade than me, which were, I was like number 3 in the scoreboard or in the honor roll or whatever. So I started comparing myself to the people above me, and I was like, gosh, I will never be like them. I can't be like them. Like I'm already trying my hardest. I can't be like them. And that started pretty much this low self-esteem issue with me because I started comparing myself to other people. And I never stopped doing that until I went to therapy, literally. So for 20 plus years, 24, 25 years, I started comparing myself. All because, unfortunately, an adult in my life did something like that, like what I just explained. So one of the things that I want to talk about is that we shouldn't be comparing ourselves to others since we are unique. What we need to do is we need to stop comparing our chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. Because when we do that, we stop trying new things. Like, for example, let's just say like you like snowboarding. You like to, you're gonna try, you're thinking like, I'm gonna try. You see an actual professional snowboarder, and you see all these tricks, you see all of these things, they do all these things, they get the medals, they get the tricks, they get everything, and you try it, but you fail at the first try. So you're gonna start comparing yourself to the other person and say like, I'm never gonna be good enough. I'm never going to be able to do those types of tricks, so I'm just going to quit. So it makes us quit. It makes us quit, and then we feel bad because it might be something that we really want to do, but we don't feel confident enough. And another thing is that when you keep comparing yourself to other people, it can lead to depression. Since we want to keep up the good life, we want to match other people that may have different skills than us. We want to keep up with the people that have all these things that we see as something that we want, so we can look like them or we can feel like them. So it can cause depression, because if you're not able to match the lifestyle of somebody else, or the skill or the job or the income of somebody else, you're gonna start feeling bad about yourself. So, and when you start feeling about yourself, unfortunately, you start thinking about the past as to why you have failed so much, and then obviously that causes depression by thinking things like that, and then it can also start. It can also cause anxiety, and the way that it causes the anxiety is that you start focusing on the future, asking like, am I going to be able to afford this? Am I going to be able to keep up with this lifestyle? Am I going to be able to do this? Am I going to be able to do that? What's the next big thing? Am I going to be able to get the next iPhone? Am I going to be able to do this? Am I going to be able to travel? So you start thinking about the future without realizing that you have to live the present. And when you keep thinking about the future a lot, and what you need to do to keep up with whoever you're comparing yourself to, is not going to help you, because you're gonna get anxious. You're gonna get anxious, and you won't be able to sometimes keep up with that lifestyle that you're trying to imitate from somebody else. So you're gonna feel bad. You're gonna get anxious. You're gonna cause more harm than good. But here's the thing though. One of the things that you have to understand is that this happens to a lot of people. It happens to a lot of us. It happens to me. It happens to my wife. It happens probably to you, or to a lot of people that are listening to the podcast. And that's why I wanted to talk about this. And I like the question, because a lot of people don't know why they compare themselves to others. That's one of the things that I realized when I started looking into this question to provide more information. Because when I was talking to people, they're like, I don't know why I compare myself to others. I just wanna be like them. And when I ask them, why are you not just yourself? And they say like, I don't know, I just don't like myself. I prefer to be somebody else. So that's one of the things that I was able to discover with this particular question, which I like. If you want to keep sending me your questions, go ahead, feel free. I don't care. I can answer them like this one. Now, one of the things that that I do want to say is that when you compare yourself to others, you're gonna crash and burn. It happened to me. Like when I was making a little bit of more money when I was living with my mom, I started comparing myself to all these other people that had, like the Gucci bags and everything. But I was like, I don't want to break the bank. And I felt bad because I wanted to have like the Gucci bag and everything. But at the same time, I felt like I was going to break the bank. I couldn't have done it. So you have to think about things like that when you compare yourself to others, because you can end up causing financial damage, emotional damage, and a lot of things can happen. Like I said, it can lead to depression or anxiety. Now, you might say like, okay, you talk about all of this, but is there anything that we can do to stop the comparison? And yes, these are some of the things that actually I have tried. I have tried a few of them. Now, one of the things that you have to try is that you have to become aware of and avoid your triggers. Like, what triggers you? Sometimes for me, it was like certain words that my mom would use against me or my uncle or anything like that. So there are triggers. You're going to have triggers, and you have to understand why those triggers make you compare yourself to others. It could be because of school. It could be because of friends, family. Like, you have to understand what is causing that for you to compare yourself. Sometimes it could be your parents. That's one of the things that you have to understand. Sometimes you might have to understand that your parents are not right all the time. Now, another thing that you have to remind yourself is that other people's outsides can be compared to your inside. You know, like the people with the big house and the boat and the RV and everything. You don't know exactly what's going on inside their house. You don't know exactly what's going on inside their home. So for you to compare yourself with somebody else's outside, it's not fair for you because you don't know the whole story. I have worked in a bank where people will come and ask for help because they were in too much debt. And I was able to see their credit histories, and you can see all these people literally buying like the very expensive house, very expensive cars, all of this. And when we will ask them, it's like, do you actually need all of this? Because obviously they needed help, so we wanted to help them. So they will say like, I kind of feel like I don't need it, but I want to have a good life. Or there's one thing that kind of like shocked me, because one of the people that I was helping was like, I do need it because my neighbor has it. And I'm like, why are you comparing yourself to your neighbor when you're you? And when the person said like, I want to have a good life, it's like, yeah, you can have a good life, but just don't break the bank. And that person even says like, yeah, I just don't understand how everybody else can do it, but I can't. That's the main problem. That's the issue. Like, you're comparing yourself to another person when you don't know exactly what they're doing. Like, they could be having their own business. They can be a CEO of a big company. They could be paid. I mean, they could have an income of way more than you know. That's why that's how they're able to afford that lifestyle. But if you're not able to afford it, in my opinion, don't do it. Like, I stopped comparing myself to other people, and then I have a good life now. And another thing that I want to let you know in regards to how to stop the comparison is that you have to repeat whenever necessary. Money doesn't buy happiness and never will. And that is so true. Like, money is not going to buy you happiness. And here's the reason why. This is one of the things that I was able to understand. It took me a long time, but I was able to understand it, is that if you're chasing money, if you're chasing material things, when the next big thing comes out, you're gonna be like, I want that. So you're gonna keep chasing the next big thing, the next designer bag, the next iPhone, the next phone, the next watch, the next house, the next whatever, the next car. So there's always something better after. I mean, there's always going to be something better. There's always going to be something better after you got after you're able to achieve something, you know? Like, you might be able to buy a car like a Mercedes, and then the next generation has better features than the one that you have, so you're going to want to upgrade. So if you're chasing material things and money, you're never going to stop chasing it. You never stop chasing it. And that's pretty much what that reminds me. Another thing is that we have to be grateful for the good in our lives and resist any lies that shout it's not enough. because what you have, like for example, look at the background. This is what I have. This is my house. I love what I have. I don't want, obviously I am going to buy a house at one point, but what I have right now is enough for me to help me achieve the next goal. I'm not in a pressure to chase something material or money. So it's going to, when it happens, when it happens. That's pretty much the way that I see it. And another thing that I like to use, which is you can use comparison as motivation to improve what actually matters. So for example, like in my case, when my wife was ill, or when she became sick, I was, and then I was diagnosed with PTSD. I was like, okay, I have to be a good husband. I have to do something for my wife. I had to do this. And then I had to look back and say, like, who is a good husband that I can actually say, like, I want to be like him? And I didn't find anybody, not even in my family. So what I did is that I actually had to look outside my circle, and I found all these people that are like excelling husbands, that have had the same struggles as me. And I was like, you know what? If they can do it, I can do it. And that's how I'm using that comparison as fuel, because it's like, if that person can do it and go through their PTSD or their trauma and become the best version of themselves, then I can do it myself. And that's pretty much what I've been doing. You can also do it as well. And that's pretty much my take on this question. If you have any more questions, just keep them coming. I like them. It makes me research a lot of stuff. So I like your questions. I like answering them. And don't forget to share, like, subscribe. And also you can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. And as always, and also, if you ever want to share your story, like a few of you have done, you can send it to me at thecaregiverandspoony@gmail.com. And as always, always take care of yourself.